This is the Tech Addicts Podcast.
This week there's news of the Xiaomi Mi Band 7, the Motorola Razr 3, the Motorola Frontier, the Realme Pad X, Corsair's Elgato Stream Deck laptop, and the Poco F4 GT Stun. Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts Podcast. I am Gareth Miles, your host for the next, I don't know how long, and this is Ted Salmon.
The host with the most, and the host with the least is me. Hello everyone, welcome, greetings from North Wales, where the winter weather is holding out. Excellent, that's my forecast, weather report.
Really? You've got winter weather? It's blazingly hot here. Yeah, I got a bit of a tan yesterday cutting the grass.
Oh yeah, it was sunny yesterday, but today it's kind of overcast and windy and a little bit like rain, which is a bit of a problem because yesterday I did my weeding, and you're supposed to get it dry after you do your weeding. We won't go down that road.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's happened.
No.
I'll tell you what happened this week is that, I said to you last week that Evercade were sending me a new handheld console thingy because my old one got a broken screen. Not only did they send me the new console, but the whole new pack, the whole box as I bought it, with the 3 game packs in it, and just the whole retail package exactly as I bought it, which does of course mean that I've got two copies of the 3 games, which I'll probably flog somewhere, but really, really good after-sales service, isn't it? They didn't need to do that, and very good communication by email throughout. Really good, impressed.
No, that's service for you. What a great little company. Yeah, I'm sure you're chuffed. And you can play them both at the same time. You can have one in one hand and one in the other.
I could start a new trend, couldn't I? I'll put that on TikTok. How to use 2 Evercades at once.
Feet included. Yes. Grand. Well, I've got a little bit of feedback on my TicWatch that I've been using for a while. And to be honest, I did actually damage it. We had a problem with the sink and I needed to replace the taps. And I put my hand in underneath and managed to scrape it along the sort of rougher underside of a porcelain sink in the kitchen and took a little bit of the paint off the very edge of it. But... yeah, no, it gives it a wee bit of character, I suppose, but I'm noticing that it's quite easy to ding and bash, because for some reason whenever you are wearing a watch, it just extends your body by a huge amount and you manage to knock it off door handles and things when you're walking through the doors. I don't know why. It's just a weird thing. I'm sure other people can relate to that, but I'm noticing that at the moment. Maybe I just need to adjust to wearing a watch full time again. But the one thing that really bugged me was, as I mentioned doing the grass yesterday, was I was listening to YouTube Music and streaming some music into my ear holes, and I couldn't control it from my watch. I wanted to skip the track, and I couldn't do that. And it's unbelievable. Spotify, yes, there's a great app for Android Wear that allows you to move around and do stuff. But YouTube Music, Google's own music service, doesn't have controls through the Android Wear.
What a load of rubbish.
I don't understand that. I couldn't believe that when I saw it. Why? What's going on there, Google? Wear 3.0, still nothing YouTube Music?
The most recent version of Wear would have it.
It's possible, but then that version isn't out yet.
Oh, no, I thought 4 was out. Okay.
No, it's going to arrive with the Pixel Watch, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe, possibly.
I don't know about these things, not being a watch wearer. But, yeah, that sounds like a bit rubbish, doesn't it? And you think that Google would be onto that and make it work, not sending people off to Spotify. Mind you, Google seemed to be happy to advertise Spotify. I noticed that in the I.O. last week, or the week before, whenever it was. They've got Spotify blazoned up on their screen like it's one of their partners, and so perhaps they don't care.
Well, yeah. It's like whenever they put out the Chromecast TV thingy, the dongle that had Chromecast built into it, the last one, Chromecast with Google TV, they put it out with Netflix subscriptions and things, as opposed to, like a gift voucher or something for their own service. Now, I went through it yesterday because I was having a look at the TV side of things, where you can buy your movies and buy your TV shows, and I thought I'd have a quick look to see if they'd improved it at all to allow me to play back some of the TV that I had watched. And I went in and I bought the box set of Parks and Rec, the TV show Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
And I went to the first episode of season 1, episode 1, and it said, "Would you pay $2.99 for this?" It's like, no, I already own it. I've gone to it through my own subscription, but I have to go all the way down to the very, very bottom. And they're all just sitting there in a long line from episode 1, season 1, right through to the very end. Why is it like that? There's two different... It's almost like they've got two different entries for the same show. One, which is the box set that you've bought, and if you've bought the box set, then you're not getting the ease of access if you were to buy it individually, episode per episode, which is about 10 times the price. Yeah. It's just embarrassing the way they've set it up. It's such a poorly implemented library.
Yeah, Google are funny, aren't they? Because sometimes they do something really, really, really well. And actually, as we were saying off air before we started, you wonder if part of that is some strategy to do things the way they do it, just to drive their advertising. We were having a chat about that before, and how it makes it difficult for, in terms of browsers, web browsers, and how they want everyone to use Chrome, but actually Chrome is a memory hog compared to others, and blah blah blah. But the theory, you reckon, is that they don't care because it keeps people there, and they want to get people using it, and so they can drive their advertising.
Well, yes, yeah, I fully believe it. I'm currently sitting here using Brave because of our show ramble, and I'm quite enjoying it. Although I know that whenever new features come to Chrome, I'm going to be left behind because Brave isn't going to get them for a while. And that's the way that Google obviously keep you in the loop. But hitting the button on the Google TV voice assistant and saying watch Parks and Recreation, it didn't take me into the library and show me my collection of Parks and Recreation. It showed me the ones that I could buy.
Yeah.
Even though I owned it. And I thought that perhaps they were maybe, rather than because they didn't include a full front end to the Chromecast when it first came out, they were more kind of driven by the idea that you're going to search for stuff using their search means and then find where you are, and they would intelligently pick up on where you last left off. But they don't even do that. It's like, oh, you own that? Well, you might forget that you've owned it, or that you own it, and here it is to buy. So you could end up buying it again.
Yeah.
And then we'll just dump it on top of what it is and then try and sell you it again and again. It really does... a
load of bollocks.
It lacks a huge amount of polish.
Do you remember my story about that Tarantino film? What's it called? The one with DiCaprio in. I can't remember it.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
The other one. Anyway, the point was that I bought it, and then it always showed up in my library as available to buy, and so I contacted. This was the only film in all of my library, and I contacted Google and had this long conversation with them about it, and they said, well, we don't know what's wrong with that, sorry, but you can still access it and you can still watch it, so there's no problem. And I said, well, there is a problem because it keeps inviting me to buy it again, same as what you're describing. But they just didn't seem interested in fixing it, and they never have. And still to this day, in my library, I see that film, and it says, do you want to buy it, even though I can watch it? Crap.
No, I fully agree. I'm there with you on that. I have Crown Vic a movie that I reviewed on the Projector
Oh, yeah.
Room, an infinitely superior podcast with some some professional views
Yeah.
and like-minded people. I bought that for I think it was $2.99 on a wee deal whenever it came out because it's a cracker of a film, and my copy in my library has no artwork. It just says Crown Vic in white lettering with like a brown background or bronzy background. Whereas if I go into the library and have a look for it, I can see it to buy now for $6.99, adorned with artwork. So there's two copies. It's almost like they had one copy that's available for the sale that doesn't have digital artwork attached to it, and the other copy does. So was I buying an unboxed digital copy or something? It annoys me greatly, and it's been so long. I did a video on it years ago about how poor it was, and nothing has changed. Apple TV is immaculate compared to Google TV.
Yeah,
Google
absolutely.
TV is just embarrassing.
Absolutely. It's polished products, and that is what Apple do, isn't it? They put stuff out when it's polished and finished and ready to use, and Google treat us all like guinea pigs. And you either embrace that and go with it, which I do most of the time, because I find it quite exciting to be a guinea pig, in the nicest possible way. Or you say, no, hang this. If I'm going to pay for something, then I want it finished and polished and good and ready for use. And so you go and buy an Apple product. Yeah.
Well, yes. If you go to Google and you're getting something for free, and they're making their money off the information that you provide to them, and you get to use it for free, like say something like Google Keep or whatever, or Google Docs,
Gmail.
then yes, you're quite happy to put up with sort of scrappiness. But whenever you're going to them and paying good money for a copy of a film or something, you don't want to be treated as a second-class citizen with no artwork. It's almost like I've bought a pirated copy of it through Google, and it could look like that. Someone's like, "Here, how did you get that?"
I agree.
It's that kind of dodgy thing sitting on a shelf where you've written Crown Vic across it in biro, crayon.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Sharpie.
They're shoddy in some areas.
Yes.
We'll come to Google TV later, won't we? Because you've got something to say about that.
Oh, yes, I do, yes. All right, we'll move into the hard line for the hardware. First up, we have Xiaomi have a Mi Band 7. It's hard to believe there's been 7 incarnations of this since I think it hit the market with a bang, because this was like a £15 fitness band that they were shooting out. I bought one straight away for my wife, and it was excellent. It really was a fantastic piece of gear. We're now up to, what is it, $50 or something like that for the Mi Band with all the extras that they've included, and this is the 7th incarnation. Is there anything spectacular we should look for on this?
I don't know really. My mum's got a fitness band thingy, but she doesn't use it very much. I think a bit like me, she gets a bit fed up with wearing watches these days. But yeah, as to what's new, I think it's a kind of incarnation. And one of the users in our group said, "Well, I've got a 6, and actually, there's not much in the 7 to tempt me forward." I thought that the price point of it, though, and I can't see it in this article we're linking to, I thought I'd read somewhere that it was $30, not $50. It says often priced below $50, the Mi Band series, blah blah blah, but it doesn't actually give a price. And I thought I think they're knocking this one out cheap again, cheaper than what they might have done the 6 for. But we'll see. We don't know. 1.62-inch AMOLED display this time as well, which is really good. I don't know if the 6 had that or not, but it looks lovely, doesn't it? It does look like it's well designed, nice bit of kit, and if you can turn it into a smartwatch as well, or at least a clock, which you can do with lots of options, then great.
All right. I'm on the Xiaomi store, and it's currently for sale. It's been knocked down in price from $80 to $50.
Oh, right. So it is $50 then.
So you get to save $30. Well, it's actually $80, but today it's showing as $50. You can get it from AliExpress for $50 or Banggood for $60.
Okay. So it's not 30 then.
No, it hasn't. It's got a battery of 180 milliamp hours. It's got a 3-axis accelerometer inside, Bluetooth 5.2, NFC, wireless charging, and that's about your...
Wireless charging? That's new, isn't it? I bet yours hasn't got that, is it?
No, I don't even know where mine is. It's not on my wife's wrist anymore, so it's probably in the bottom of the drawer somewhere. Yeah. But it was £15, I think, or... Yeah, it was like $14.99 or something like that when she bought it. So we're not too fussed on whether or not it's worth it. It's water resistance up to 50 meters, 24-hour health monitoring, more sports mode, and professional workout modes.
I think that if these bands are more like smartwatches, they'll be more successful. Because as we've said many times before, I don't want a great big lump of a thing on my wrist. If I'm going to wear something, it needs to be thin and slinky like these things. And the more it's like a proper smartwatch, the more likely I am to give it a go.
Well, let's not talk about your slinky wear. We don't need to know that or visualize that in our heads at all. Motorola have the Razr 3, which should be coming soon, and they're teasing some better than average specifications. That'll be the one. Yeah. So we're looking at a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 inside of it. With the possibility that there could be a larger screen, which could be 6.7 inches in size, which is too big for you, Mr. Ted Simon.
Mind you, if it's foldable, that does change the paradigm to some degree.
It doesn't change the price tag, though. I think people would be happy if this was a rather more affordable phone, as opposed to some... a £2,000 behemoth that they're going to have to finance in order to get for the foldable side of it.
I don't quite get the foldable thing, apart from, I was saying to Steve yesterday on PSC, apart from nostalgia and people just wanting something different, or, nostalgia being people that you remembered the Razr. And lots of Americans, as we've said before, particularly Americans, are used to this flip phone thing from back in the day, and you can end a phone call by flipping it closed, and that's really quite nice. I like that. But I just don't get who it's aimed at. I don't understand why you'd want a phone that opens up into an ordinary phone just so that you can put a fatter half-size phone in your pocket. Don't get it.
Yeah, and it is along the lines of, if you want to look as cool as Walter White or Jimmy McGill hanging up your phone, then you're going to have to pay an extra £1,000 for it? No.
Yeah.
In fact, even more than that, because those little phones were like $200 or whatever to buy.
Or buy a Nokia flip phone, dumb phone, for about £25 now. I've got one of those. I can do that if I put my SIM card in it.
You can slam it shut and throw it across the room, as they do quite frequently. And you're not going to want to do that with a £2,000 phone.
Exactly,
no way.
No. Anyway,
your money is much better invested in the likes of Motorola's other new biggie. Do take us through this one, the Frontier.
I got lost on this last night talking to Steve again, because I didn't understand the word remosaicing. I couldn't read it. I thought they'd spelt it wrong. The deep learning remosaicing algorithm that the Samsung 200 megapixel ISOCELL HP1 sensor is being used on this whacking great big camera. I don't know. I mean, 200 megapixels sounds like a lot, but it depends what they do with it. Going back to the whole HTC experiment with their phone a few years ago, where they had these whacking great big pixels that actually gathered more light than, just pumping up the numbers and chasing the specs, just make it sound bigger and better. The phone, I'm sure that it will be a nice one. It looks like a serious flagship, regardless with this Samsung chipset. The motor, it's about time again Motorola did have a serious flagship, but it's going to be serious money, no doubt. And it's got all this stuff, the same Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset, and loads of RAM and storage and decent battery, wireless charging, which is something that Motorola don't do very well these days, and fast charging as well. So it looks like it's going to be a really nice phone, but I'm sure it'll be like 1,200 quid. They're probably going to put this up with the Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look. I found the Google patent for image remosaicing. And it was an application filed by Qualcomm back in 2017 and then abandoned. So it must have been picked up by Google following that. Image processing can include producing a first mosaic of an image with the first spectral pattern, assigning a context to the first mosaic, classifying the first modular based as I'm bored. So what's next?
Steve lost me in science. He was banging on about how the pixels are arranged and what they do and blah blah blah. And frankly, if it's to do with digital photography, I'm lost. Bring me film back, I say.
Oh, well, actually, what we could do is provide a service to the people who are listening right now and say, listen to the phone show. There we go.
Yeah, PSC.
Yeah, all your questions will be answered over there. Steve's on the ball. There we go. All right, so the Realme Pad X. This is a new, good-looking tablet with an 8,340 milliamp hour battery, 33 watts of fast charging built in, an 11-inch 2K display, which will be a low blue light certification screen from Rhineland. I don't know where that is. It must be near Germany. And it's got other kind of hardware specs built inside, including a Snapdragon 870 system on chip. So it's not exactly the speediest demon in the world, but it's still pretty darn speedy. Hopefully this will be coming in at a cheaper price.
Yeah, that's what they're not saying.
Ted, is there anything I've not quite...
No, the price is what they're not saying. But Realme tend to be quite aggressive with pricing. And it does look nice. The edges of it look very Apple again. I mean, everyone copying Apple, of course. But if you look at the side view with the 33 watts thingy above it, it looks very kind of, iPhone 5-ish and iPhone SE 2020-ish on the edges and sides. Looks nice. 11 inches is a sizable display, though, isn't it? It's a big device. That battery, even though it sounds like it's big at 8,000 plus, it may not be that great in terms of use. And good charging speeds as well. So, yeah, it looks interesting. It all comes down to the price. It's being released on the 26th of May, apparently, in China. And I'm sure it will come here, probably just not yet.
26th of May, that was last week, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's already gone, isn't it?
Today's the 29th.
Oh, yeah. You're right. I've lost 3 days there. Can I relive them, please?
No, I might investigate this a wee bit more, because I have the Samsung Galaxy S7 Plus, which is an oversized tablet, and to be honest, using it, I really only use it for Netflix and Plex right now. Yeah. I was using it for a whole host of other stuff, but having got a Chromebook, I kind of reserve that because it's much more comfortable. And it's now just become a portable media player, and it's complete overkill for that. Although I do think that it's going to be difficult to find something that's going to measure up to the speakers that are in that tablet. Yes. But I'm quite interested in this. This brags Dolby Atmos and that 2K display. And if it's got the right kind of price tag that could be a portable media player, then this could be something kind of special.
Yeah. I like the 4 speakers thing. That worked really well. When I had my Galaxy Tab S4, I really appreciated that. It sounds great.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, it's a bit, as you say, it's often these things are a bit like overkill when all you're doing with it is watching Netflix, which you could do with anything.
Yeah, true, yeah. Okay, so there's been a bit of abuse online. I saw it. I watched it. Oh. I saw it happen. Yeah, over at Geeky Gadgets, you have linked to a video that shows a gentleman placing 1.2 petabytes of storage into a rack-mounted storage system, and tries to power it by a poor little Raspberry Pi. That's like putting a hamster inside a car and trying to drive at 180 miles an hour. It's dreadful. That poor little Raspberry Pi is struggling. yeah, this is just an example of trying to do something ridiculous because you've got a load of hardware to try and do it with.
Okay.
Did you have a look at this?
No, I know nothing about Raspberry Pis, as you know. I put this in for your benefit and to see if it was worth reporting on. Clearly it isn't. But yeah, some guy has kind of stripped out a desktop PC case and just stuffed it full of these, just so that you can, I suppose. But you reckon that the Pi won't run it anyway?
Oh no, they've got this full on. I can't remember what they called it, but it's a large rack mounted hard drive storage bay that usually is powered by a Xeon processor. And they've ripped out the Xeon processor, stuck in a load of hard disk controllers for 60 hard drives, and trying to power it through a Raspberry Pi and get them all going on a 1 gigabit connection, because that's all the Raspberry Pi can manage to do, let alone a 10 gigabit connection. And yeah, they set it up and have a go at it, and the poor little thing just stutters. It can't quite do it. It does put up a bit of a fight, I have to say, and that's a testament to the Raspberry Pi, but it is just cruelty. And one day, whenever Androids come to life, we'll be looking back, and the guy who does this, Jeff Geerling, is going to be cancelled because of his cruelty to technology. That poor little Raspberry Pi.
Oh, well, never mind. Oh, now, this is really annoying, this next story. Bloomin', I just ordered my MX Master Mouse 3 or whatever it's called, and they bring a new one out. No, I got the...
Well, they were waiting for you to buy.
And actually, not to be too dismissive of this, but it looks like the changes are really tiny. They're talking about one of the big changes is the speed at which you can zoom it across the table, which will help you if you've got whacking great big screens and multiple screens and all that sort of thing. So it's the MS Master 3S, and it looks exactly the same as mine and yours, and... it just has a couple of improvements. What was more interesting, though, I thought, was the mechanical keyboard, particularly the mini one. I have noticed this week that my Logitech keyboard, same as yours, is really, really nice, but it's so big. I've got limited space on my desk here, and I thought to myself, I could do with a mini one, really, to give me more space. And... as you know, I recently ventured into mechanical keyboards to test it out. Thought, yeah, and this one looks really nice. Just typical, isn't it? As soon as you buy something, a mouse and a keyboard, 2 new ones come along. Very annoying.
Well, in all fairness, the MX Master 3 has been out for 2 years. I'm on my second one because of the coffee incident.
Yeah.
And the MX keys have been out for even longer than that. I have noticed that, since the pastry incident, some of the keys are beginning to stick a wee bit, and I've felt that. But I've had this keyboard for longer than any keyboard in my life. Not that I am saying that I'm even considering upgrading to whatever else they put out. I would probably buy this MX Masters again, or the keys again, if I was to have to change keyboards, because stickiness is happening. But I think I'll just get a
But this keyboard is slightly different because it's a mechanical one, so it doesn't really compare with that. One of the things I did notice about this mechanical keyboard, however, was that the space bar appears to be pivoting on one connector. And now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm new to this mechanical keyboard business, but I thought that most of the decent ones had 2 of those, so that your space bar didn't rock from side to side. Is that right or not?
Well, it depends entirely on... This looks like a very shallow mechanical keyboard, and the frame of the keyboard does look a good deal like what we are currently using with the membrane of the MX keys. So they've installed essentially little switches for the mechanical side of things, and it could actually be kind of difficult to hit the space bar. It's a strange kind of combination. It's not a full... It is a mechanical keyboard, but it's not that the big deep Corsair or Logitech ones that you would expect with a mechanical keyboard. It's almost like halfway house between the two.
Right.
So having the space bar just be responsive from a light tap from your thumb on the left or the right side whenever you're typing may have been hindered if there were two under there and dividing that up. So it might just be a case of sensitivity that you just tap it and it goes down. I don't know. It would need to be. It does look concerning, but it would need to be touched. It's like the tab button and the shift button on the left side are the same way. You can't see the mechanical keyboard switch underneath there because they're two slightly larger buttons.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. And we'd need to get one.
Yeah, we would need to get one in, which means it's down to you. But the spacebar just looks to me as though if you pressed it on the right-hand side, the left would come up.
Yeah.
It looks like a seesaw. Anyway, you wouldn't know until you used it, would you?
Well, no, I get what you're talking about there, but I think that Logitech, given their quality of build, would have sorted that out, that it doesn't happen that way. And they just worked it out that it probably is better off having one than two.
Right, so do you fancy 8,000 DPI sensor enough to upgrade your mouse?
Nope, quite happy with the one I've got.
Me too.
If there's another coffee incident at any point in the future, then yes.
Fair enough.
But I will get the 3S. But right now, I'm happy with the one I've got.
Jolly good.
Yes, so Corsair are doing a new laptop that incorporates your Elgato Steam Deck into it in the way that we've seen, say, for example, the MacBook that had the touch-sensitive bar along the top that you were able to do stuff with. Corsair are trying to do that with a bunch of, function buttons built into there. Isn't that what function buttons were originally for in the first place?
What they haven't done with this, though, they haven't gone the whole hog to make those buttons reassignable for graphics. Now, with my Stream Deck, the Elgato Stream Deck, you can muck about with the pictures on them and the writing on them and the iconography of them. These things are S1, 2, 3, 4 through to S10, and that's your lot with a battery thing in the middle. I also don't quite get why they've made it so that it works, they're still available when the lid is closed. Well, I suppose it's probably so that you, if you're hooking up to an external monitor and you can still use those buttons. Okay, fair enough. But they should have made them like they do with the Stream Deck, reassignable in terms of the graphics and what they say. Make them proper buttons. Come on, Elgato. If you're going to do this, then do it properly.
I would like to see that if you were to rotate the laptop 180 degrees, so the buttons are actually close to you. Say, for example, you have the laptop closed beside you. Rather than reaching all the way over to the back of the laptop to touch them, you could turn the laptop round, and then they would be facing you and being the right way up when they're facing you, if that makes sense. The mirror image of what they would be when the laptop is open.
I do agree.
If you're using output, because people do put them in docks and things like that, and they can be sitting upside down in a dock, and then that makes the buttons harder to get to. But it would be good if you could rotate them 180 degrees, because they are just graphical implementations as opposed to full-on buttons.
This is supposed to be a gaming laptop as well. Well,
it is, yeah.
Apparently they've got mechanical switches. Cherry MX ultra low profile. They don't look at all like mechanical switches, do they? They look like chiclet style keyboard.
They do, yeah. But you can't really tell what's underneath there, so obviously it doesn't have the membrane that we would expect from a laptop.
I love the size of the trackpad there. That's huge. Really nice.
And the speakers down the side look good too,
yeah.
Which are sort of front facing.
Yeah. Very nice.
This is a gorgeous looking laptop. It really is quite space age.
Yeah, very nice. Is there a price? No. Oh yeah, $3,000. No, $2,700.
Woohoo! Right, okay. So you can get one of those. I'll get the Logitech keyboard. You can have one of those.
Good idea.
Grand. That's a deal. The Poco F4 GT is it's a new phone. and they're going to be hopefully doing a Poco Watch to match too. This has 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage, or in the UK you might see a 12 gigabyte of RAM version with a 256 gigabyte of storage variant. It's going on sale tomorrow actually with some early bird pricing. You going to pick one up?
Early bird pricing is £499, isn't it? Yeah. Which actually for the specs is pretty good. Is it a gaming phone?
No, well, I think these things are generally targeted towards the younger demographic who are maybe playing a bit of Call of Duty, because the specifications are quite good that they will run it, and they're given cool names like the Stealth Black and things like that. So.
And it's also got 4 speakers, which is usually a gaming phone thingy, and it's also got crap cameras, which is usually a gaming thingy, and also there's no Qi charging, which is also a gaming.
And it's got 2 external buttons as well for shooting your enemies.
Okay, well that seals the deal then, doesn't it? 6.67 inch display, 1080p, nice AMOLED display, which is great, 120 hertz refresh, and Android 12 arriving with it, with MIUI 13 on board, which I'm still waiting for here, but it's another story. Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, 4nm chipset, which sounds like it's going to be very speedy. But you can see from the specs that it's very much focused towards gaming. And, it's not cheap, is it? But then I suppose...
$499's all right. It's got 120 watt hypercharging and a charger in the box.
But if you compare that with the prices of the Black Shark, for example, they don't get up that high. All right, on $499 release price, but the proper price is $699. And Black Shark devices don't get up that high. But we now know that Black Shark has been taken over by another company. But that might change. But very nice if you want a nice big gaming phone.
Yeah, I can't imagine it going up to $699 for too long. If they're selling it for $499 right now, no one in the right mind is going to buy it for $699 in a week's time.
No.
It's a good looking phone, I have to say, and if I was in the market looking for one right now, I think that would be the one I would be actually picking up. Poco phones have been excellent up until now.
I do like the yellow. Yellow's nice. What's this?
Yes, yellow is one of the good colours.
There's also a watch in here, isn't there? You see, what's the watch about?
Yeah, I didn't quite look into that. It looks a bit like an Apple Watch.
Here it is.
It's got a 1.6 inch 360 by 320 pixel screen.
Wow.
AMOLED display.
It looks exactly like an Apple Watch, doesn't it? €80. Moving along.
No, it's all right. It looks like a decent enough little watch, but with a proprietary OS, so it's not Android Wear.
Yeah, moving along.
Okay, you're not enthusiastic.
I'm not enthusiastic.
Then.
I think that if I was going to buy a watch, and I'd want it to be some sort of, as you say, Wear OS, even if you can't change your YouTube music.
Okay. So tell us about the Galaxy X cover phone. What is that?
Well, I'm not quite sure really. The X cover phone I've always kind of eyed up in the corner of my sight because it's a rugged phone, and we like rugged phones. Usually these X cover phones from Samsung are kind of underspecified, not very exciting compared to the non-cover phones, because they're designed for building sites and diving and hang gliding and para whatever. But actually, this one is not that bad in terms of, it's got a Snapdragon 778G, which is a 5G chipset, 6 gigs of RAM, 1080p display, and it's got the latest Android 12 and One UI 4.1 on it, it was all good signs of them actually bringing this up to be more competitive with the newer devices that they've got out there, rather than looking at it and you think to yourself, well, that's, they've released this with 2-year-old specs and components, and I'm quite encouraged, really, because it'd be actually worth looking at. Be interesting to see how well it sells up against the likes of the Nokia XR20, for example, which I've got here. Other rugged phones. This one is not quite as big as that one, although I can't see the size of the screen. Actually, can you see the size of the screen? They're usually not that big. The X cover phones, they're usually kind of, a bit smaller and pocketable for those building sites. I'm waffling now. Your turn.
No. I don't know that durability outdoors. Yeah, that's one of the things. It's got IP68, which is grand, but I can't see the screen size. 6.3 inch high resolution display.
Bit smaller. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But it does seem, really plasticky. They don't tend to make these out of the most enduring thing. So if you were to drive a forklift truck over it, I don't know that it would survive. It'll just take a few knocks, or it could be dropped off larger than normal height.
Well, that's no good. Then.
I don't know that I wouldn't trust.
If you drove a truck over my Nokia XR20, I would completely expect it to survive, no question at all. But if this is not up in that league, then it's not the same beast at all. But then that might be reflected in the price, I suppose. Well, the Nokia XR20 is not that expensive. But it's...
I think it's just designed for elements as opposed to buildings, not building sites, but just the general elements that are thrown at the phone.
Right.
If you were to leave it in the sand and it to be swept away with a building site vehicling type destruction thing, it would probably not last that much. But there's an X-Cover 5, which is a lot cheaper actually. It's at £269, which really bad. There's the X-Cover Pro Enterprise Edition, which is almost £500. So I don't know.
Right, I'm not seeing that data. You've linked off somewhere else, but that's fine. If it's those kind of prices, the cheaper prices, then you'd expect, like the Motorola Defy, the new version of the Motorola Defy, which was pretty cheap, but actually it's not very good. I think actually the Nokia XR20 has nailed this, even though it's a whacking great big phone. They've nailed this building site phone, and they've done it really well. But we'll see how well it sells.
All right. Okay, well, you like your little tiny desktop PCs.
Ooh, yeah.
That are about the same size as a phone. And a company called Zotac, who I believe make graphics cards. I remember... Hang on a second. I have a Zotac lanyard dangling down beside me. So I've met them in the past. They are putting out a little desktop computer that is really quite ditty, I think the word is that we should be using. This has a 1.2 gigahertz Intel Celeron N6211 dual core with UHD graphics, 4 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, and 128 gigabytes of onboard storage. It has Wi-Fi 6E, gigabyte Ethernet built into it, Bluetooth 5.2, 2 USB 3.1s, and 1 Type-C port. It also has a headphone and microphone combo jack. There's an SD card slot and an HDMI 2.0 plus a DisplayPort 1.4. And it can do up to 2160 resolution and supports a dual monitor setup, which is quite impressive. It can come pre-installed with Windows 11 Pro and has a separate USB thumb drive for restoring factory setups whenever you need to do that. What do you think of this for a whopping $230?
Well, the price is nice, certainly, but you wouldn't get very far with 4 gigabytes of RAM, I'm afraid, and 128 gigabytes of storage. Well, okay, you can plug in storage and you've got a micro SD card, but even so, it's great for me. It would be great for me to have a pocketable PC, as I said before. But there's nothing about fanlessness here, although you poo-pooed that, didn't you? You said that if it's fanless, it will get too hot. On that other one we looked at. I love the idea of this. I also don't know much about the N6211 chipset, how good or crap that is. And I don't know, it just looks like it's... a bit underpowered, really, and I'm not sure if there's an option to buy a better specified version or upgrade it or take it apart to change it. Not very clear. So if I was going to have one of these, it would have to be all singing, all dancing and proper, which means it's not going to be $230.
Yeah, you'll end up just buying a new computer.
Yes.
With fans and perhaps a bit of water cooling.
Yeah.
And big AMD Ryzen inside it or something.
And there's no sign yet of a pocketable fold-out monitor either. You want a monitor that you put in your pocket, the size of a mobile phone, and then fold it out and 12 times to make it a monitor to carry with you.
Well, yes, I suppose that's one thing that they could be working on. Yeah, what is it? Motorola and both Samsung are talking about rollable displays, so you could just have your display as a cigar.
Yeah,
or like a cigar case, and then you just pull it out.
Or a cane. That could be a walking stick, couldn't it? A walking stick that rolls out into a monitor. Brilliant idea. I'm going to patent that.
And you could be a distinguished gentleman around town and then go and do your presentations.
Indeed.
Yes. All right, flapping traps about apps and the like. So, Plex is finally getting a Linux desktop player. I wasn't aware that it didn't have one.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh. So it's obviously one of the most popular ways of using media on the go and in the home. So they've put in a new desktop Plex app for Linux kernels, which is kind of nice. And you can get it from the Snap Store if you need to, and there's a command line that'll download it for you. Excellent. I don't think you're using Linux,
I've never
are you?
used Linux in my life, and I know that I should have done that, being on Tech Addicts. I should have played with it and dabbled with it, but I just have never done that. I don't know the first thing about it. We need Ian Barton on the show to tell us all about it. Do you have something running Linux routinely there?
No, but I have been watching, and I think Linux is getting to a point where it is a viable replacement for Windows. And with the, to be all conspiracy theory about it, with the incoming idea that Microsoft are going to be storing the keys to allow you to access hardware features and things off your computer and up in the cloud, it does mean that it's going to be harder and harder going forward to have the option to install Linux. I don't like the idea of where Windows 11 is going, and I think there's a bit of a rush to get Linux into a repackaged and attractive alternative for the mass to be able to go out and start using Linux, as opposed to just the enthusiast. So I do think that Linux is going to be something that we will be using in the future if Microsoft continue down the path that they are using. And this is a good step in the right direction, and shows that Linux is becoming more and more viable as an option.
Absolutely. As long as Plex works, we'll be all right.
Yes, Plex, and I think Adobe Photoshop is the one other thing, that the whole Adobe suite that people are waiting for, and that's one of the main hooks that they have still into their Windows devices.
Okay, it's interesting. Yeah. One of the good things about Windows is the apparent universality, if that's the word, universalness of plug and play, and generally speaking, that works really well. You plug these days now, you plug something in that some component manufacturer's made, and it just works. It finds its way, it wheedles around, it does what it needs to do in the background, and it just works. And if Linux desktop kind of does that, or Linux systems do that, I've got a feeling when I spoke to some bloke before about Linux, that was one of the things that they said, don't expect things to just plug in and work, because you need to work behind the scenes yourself and know what you're doing to some degree. But maybe that's changed now.
I think it is changing, and the likes of, say, SteamOS, which is Linux based, it's becoming one of the big contenders to provide a route for people to be able to just go with that instead. It's a very attractive solution,
right.
And it's providing a large amount of compatibility with Windows applications, so you can actually run your Windows application. Because one of the big problems that SteamOS had for on the Steam Deck was getting the larger majority of their games that they had ported into the store for Steam Deck players. So Steam took it on themselves to actually work with Windows compatibility, as opposed to relying on developers to make their game compatible with SteamOS,
right,
or Linux in general. So they've made leaps and bounds to allow you to run Windows apps in Linux. Okay. And I think that is the bridge that's going to be made, that's going to attract a lot more people. And whilst there's a few things that are still just required for having a Windows setup, I think each day it's becoming less and less of a necessity. And I reckon Microsoft should start to worry, especially if most gamers who use Windows were to jump over onto SteamOS. Windows would then become much less of a dominant force, and it would really become just a business environment.
Oh dear, really? What a disaster. I can't imagine that happening. Actually, I've got a little Windows laptop sitting in a drawer here doing nothing, which is about 5 years old. But I could put Linux on that, I suppose, and give it a roll and see how far I get.
Yeah, give it a go. See what you think. There's Pop is a very, very good Linux distro that is very simple to understand and use.
Right, more homework.
Yes, you're gonna have a busy week. What else would you be doing with your time? And don't say Pornhub. Right, so Sony pledges to double its games for the mobile environment by 2025. That's a bold promise. Sony, the PlayStation people, are looking to, I don't know, do stuff. I don't really understand why they're bothering. Did you read through this?
They reckon they're going to double the number of titles they've got by 2025. Well, that depends on how many they've got now as to whether that's of significance or not, on all platforms. So not just for PlayStation, but actually they're saying that their PlayStation titles they're going to push out to all other platforms and make them universally available. As I understand this article, that's what they're saying.
The one thing I'm confused about is whenever you see Sony games arriving in, say, Steam or somewhere like that, we've had Days Gone and God of War, and they've been very well received on the PC platform. But I wouldn't say they're mobile, and that's the thing that's confusing.
Oh, right. They're saying what they're saying is that only 10% of the Sony titles are available for mobile right now, but in 3 years' time, they're expected to account for 20% of their titles. So actually it's not a huge claim really, is it? Just doubling up to... But I suppose it takes a long time to develop for mobile platforms when you've been used to doing... I don't know. Shall we take this out?
Well, no, it's one thing that Sony have been removing themselves from mobile gaming by gradually just killing off the Vita. Right. And they also killed off their Windows Mobile Store quite recently as well, and just deleted all of the games that were there. So I don't know why anyone would ever trust them unless they're looking to make versions of their own games that are compatible with Android, I think that's what it's about, and iOS. Yeah. Which I don't see Days Gone or God of War. They're PlayStation 5 titles and PC titles that use top-end hardware to be able to run at a great rate. So
yeah, but
I don't see those
why not
tent post titles arriving on iPhone or Android.
Because the point is that everything is going mobile, and with the surge forwards for Android tablets coming back now, maybe Sony is sitting there saying, well, hang on a minute, people are getting into these tablets again now, let's go and grab that, because that's still classified as mobile in the tablet sector. So and they can still sell their controllers and their this, that and the other and people playing on tablets and phones. I think I understand what they're trying to do, but I just don't see that 10% to 20% of their titles is a huge target. So not something to boast about.
Yes, but the hardware's not going to be there to be able to run Days Gone or God of War, the stuff that is running really nicely on the PlayStation 5.
You mean the chipset and the RAM? Because, I mean, that could well be by 2025. Who's to know what fast-running chipsets are in tablets and how much huge amounts of RAM they might have?
Well, to get God of War running on a PC today requires probably something in the range of a 2070 graphics card to get it running at a decent rate, with maybe 8 gigabytes of RAM and a fairly beefy processor. Something that an iPad or an Android Samsung Galaxy A8 is never going to have.
What about the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 and the fact that my phone...
That's a mobile processor.
They're talking about making these games mobile. And my phone has got 12 gigs of RAM and 16 gigabytes of RAM is coming along. So, I don't know. You're the gamer here. I really don't know. But it just seems to me like they're just trying to push it out on... And maybe they won't ever work as well, but they might just still work. I don't know.
No, I don't think they'll be able to trim them down enough. Whenever we see something like Wolfenstein or Grand Theft Auto arrive on the Nintendo Switch, it's trimmed down so that it can run on that hardware. And it has certain concessions that are made, so it's running at 720p and things. So it's nowhere near the level that we are seeing on the PlayStation 5 or 4 or on a desktop computer. And they have to take that into account, and it's always mentioned in reviews that it's nowhere. It doesn't live up to the big the big boy version of it, and it is more just a kind of a light version of a popular game, and I can't see them going and doing that to be able to shoehorn Days Gone and God of War of Horizon Zero Dawn onto a tablet.
Right. Well, maybe that kind of game isn't going to be in the 80% that's left over.
But those are the Sony titles that people are looking for, and they're tentpole titles. If they're talking about putting out some of the lesser games that they make, then it's not going to be something that people are going to be wanting.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't trust them with mobile gaming after what they've done in the past.
Okay. What's that ping? Stop pinging.
I don't know. Someone just messaged me saying, "Hi, Leanna."
Oh.
I'm not Leanna. All right. So what's this about Google Drive? It's introducing new cut and paste.
It's not new. It's old as the Ark. But it's just that in Google Drive, it's a very quick item. They've decided to implement the Control-C, Control-V, Control-A. And so when you're looking at on your desktop, and on mobile, I think, when you're looking at your Google Drive, you can now use copy and paste commands and select commands by keyboard shortcuts. That's it, really, and it works now, and it hasn't worked up to now. So shame on Google for making us wait this long for it. That's it. End of.
All right, okay. I'm still waiting for them to be able to, in Google Docs, put in, tags so that you know what is what. You just have a big list of all your documents. It would be nice to be able to have them sort of filed in a particular way.
You can use the labels, can't you?
Not in Google Docs, no.
Google Drive.
Yes.
Google Drive. But you see, this is where there's a misunderstanding about the difference between what Google Drive is and what Google Docs is. And my mum struggles with this a great deal. And no, actually, there's not labels. I thought there was labels in Drive. There's
no. If you have a document, you can't say this is for tech addicts. If you have another document, you can't say this is for projector room.
You can make a folder though.
In Google, but that doesn't help you when you just open Docs and go, right, okay, where's that review I was working on?
Yeah, but you see, you're opening Docs and not opening Drive. And that's the difference. As I say, my mum struggled with that for a long time. Drive is the front end file manager, and Docs is the word processor. And so I've tried to encourage her to work from Google Drive. So when you find something in Google Drive you want to work with, be it inside a folder you've created, which you can do, it's not called a label, but it's the same principle, really. When you find something, then you open it up in Docs. Docs is not a file manager. Google Drive is the file manager. And
I know, but say, for example, Keep. Keep has a labeling system that you can put on various different labels, so you can keep things categorized. Yes. Why can't they just implement that? And Gmail has it too. It has a very excellent system for doing that. Why can't they put that into Docs?
Well, again, I come back to my first point, really, about the difference between Docs and Drive, because Docs is a word processor, and Drive is a file manager, and you wouldn't expect...
But Gmail is an email client.
It is. Well done.
But it has labeling systems so that you can keep it organised and sorted.
And that's in Drive. The same thing as in Drive. Or they're not called labels, they're folders. And it works in a Windows-type way. But inside Docs, you wouldn't expect that. If you opened up Microsoft Word, you wouldn't expect there to be a filing system inside Microsoft Word. Your filing system is inside Windows, your Windows computer, or wherever else that is your filing. You don't have a labeling filing system inside Microsoft Word. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, but Google could import that because they do it in Keep and in Gmail.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, they could. They could if they wanted to. And then that would make that would make Docs a file system on its own, a file management system of its own. You're right, they could do that if they wanted to. It would just change the nature of the way that it works. And they've always wanted Google Docs to be a word processor in the same way as Microsoft Word is.
But then I would argue that they do have essentially a file manager for Google Docs, because whenever you open up Google Docs, you have Start New Document, or you have a huge list of all the docs that are available to you, where they have taken out of Google Drive all your documents, all your spreadsheets, and you can go and have a look at them. And then you can try and find what it is you're looking for. And you can start to type in the search function to be able to find the file name. But if you don't remember what you called it, or you're barking up the wrong tree going, what was that spreadsheet I called it? Was it budget, or was it banking, or was it financing? It would be so much better if you had a labeling system on that front end of Docs or spreadsheet that you would be able to limit it down to, click on this label for finance related spreadsheets or finance related docs, and there are 10 of them. It makes it easier to find. Or, say, for example, you were to be a reviewer like myself, and you sit there and type up various different documents. You can then label it as posted or something like that, and then you can just archive it and forget about it. That isn't something that you're natively going to be able to move straight into Google Drive and deal with that way, because you're dealing with docs, and if you've got loads of different docs, it would just be able to do, right, that's done, I can forget about that, and it can just go down to the bottom and be forgotten about.
Okay, you write to Google and tell them, and I'll write to Microsoft. Say, inside Word, we want a file manager, please.
I'd take, for example, Projector. We've got 100 odd different versions of show notes that are all listed down my Google Docs.
No, it's not in... Right, okay, all right, yeah. But that's just that snapshot that they're showing you in Google. I don't get why people, including you by the sounds of it, work as a filing system out of Docs, because you do that in Drive. Start with Drive. That's your file manager. That's your Windows Explorer front end, the same as you would do in Windows. And then from there, you open up the appropriate application to deal with things. Don't try and file manage inside Docs. Dear listener, you agree with me, don't you, that these people that are using tools they're not designed for need to take a running jump?
No, I think people will agree with me. They tend to go, right, I'm going to go and edit that word processed doc that I had. They'll probably open Docs first rather than going straight to Drive.
I don't know.
And then
anyone.
You have to scroll down your big list
you have
of folders, and then you've got all your docs underneath that.
And
then whenever I right-click on a
you've got
doc...
a filing system in there, and you make folders, and it's same as Windows Explorer. If you're organised, you'll have that all organised. You can also star documents. So I've got starred. If you click on starred on the left, favourites or whatever you want to call it, on the left, you can then see the ones that you want up to come up front. And I just don't get why people would use it in the way you're using it. Did you hear that ice cream van? Isn't that nice?
Yeah. It's labeled as an ice cream van. All right. Okay. Well, yes, Google Assistant is going to have personalized speech recognition, which would be quite useful. I don't know why it's not already there.
Do you use this in Home? Because apparently this is where this has come from. In the home, the smart hubs, they already have this, a bit like, the whole kind of now playing thing with Pixels. On your device, you have this bunch of data that recognises your speech particularly, as it does with music, and it helps to, it can store your audio recordings on your phone, and it helps it to recognise it more quickly, with what you're saying, and it's tuned into you. I'm not sure. Apparently it's already working on the home stuff, and allegedly it's working very well. So I'm not quite sure what the where the rollout is coming to phones, but apparently it's coming. I expect other people might say this is a breaching privacy and all the rest of it. Because they've then got sections, they got speech patterns of your actual speech, but allegedly they're saying that it is sitting on the phone, never shared with Google, blah blah blah, locally stored, blah blah blah. There you go.
I thought this was already there, where it would be able to determine one person from another person. Now, I do feel that perhaps things don't work as well. If my wife says one thing to Google Home, and I say the same thing to it, mine will generally be more successful because I think Google is more tuned into my voice than her voice.
That's on the server, though. That's all managed on the Google servers. Well, no, not with the home products it's not, but with your phone it is. And what they're saying is that from now on, that will be managed on your phone.
Right, okay.
You see what I mean?
Okay.
It's not on the Google server. And that's why at the moment the home product should work better in that respect than your phone. We don't seem to be communicating very well today. This is very unusual.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, the one thing that I would like them to do is be able to implement being able to turn off an alarm that is going off on another Google Home into a particular Google Home. Because my son is forever setting reminders up in his bedroom, and I'll be sitting there maybe in the living room, and I can hear the alarm going off upstairs, and I can't turn it off from downstairs. So you have to go to a point in the house that you can hear you, and then shout, "Stop alarm," or whatever, and then it'll do that. But it's just a pain. And I've said, "Can you turn off that alarm in Austin's room?" And it'll go, "I'm sorry, I can't do that." Why not?
Yeah.
Pain in the bottom.
Indeed. Far too clever for its own good.
Another issue that we have with personalization is the fact that darn GDPR pop-ups. Google TV is going to be ruling out personalized spaces for differing profiles, which is much needed really much needed. So you can sign into your Android or Google TV and have personalized stuff to you as opposed to just anyone who happens to be using it at the time. And that will be across devices, which would be great.
Yay. You complained about this ages ago, didn't you? You said that with one of the problems with Google TV is that it doesn't know you. You said that it's like just this front end that could be the same one as anyone else would see, and that it should know me, I think is what you said.
Yeah, because it goes through, and there was a time whenever you first set up the newer Google TV with the Android TV with Google I can't remember, the Chromecast with Google TV that came out. It would be saying, do you like these films? And you'd be able to flip left and right for whether you like it. It's like Commando, yes, I like that. The Princess Diaries, no, I don't like that. When Harry Met Sally, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know whether I like it or not. It's a wee bit weepy, and you choose that. But if your wife came along and sat down and she got asked the same thing, it would end up messing up all your search results and what it's recommending to you. And you know, it's supposed to be building an algorithm. And already I think that I'm really starting to believe that most of Google's algorithms are kind of not working very well, generally. And I don't actually believe that any algorithm works particularly well, and they're just something that companies can hide behind, going, oh, it's a very complicated algorithm. No, it's not. It's all based on luck. Really is. If something pops up and says, you might enjoy this, like how many times on Netflix has it said, here, maybe you'll enjoy this, and you're like, I watched that last week. Why are you showing it to me?
Yes.
YouTube as well. It's like, hey, here, you haven't seen this. Yes, I have. And I don't think that... I think people just put together algorithms based on luck. Yes.
And they're going to change that, are they?
Well, hopefully, yes. There'll probably be a new complicated algorithm that'll go in that'll start recommending you things that are more in touch with what you're watching, which I believe is what Google TV was all about when they first launched it the very first time.
I'll tell you,
and the Google TV boxes were...
I'll tell you one thing I've noticed about the Google TV when I've got it out and tested it is how terribly data inefficient it is. I've got, as you know, I'm bandwidth strapped here in my situation, and so when I have Netflix on or Amazon Prime Video even on, the streaming down from my 4G router is really very efficient. It's very good. Even when I've got a low speed reading, it seems to work it out and does it's the best it can, and works with the hardware it's got in the box or whatever. In my case, in the Roku. But when I put the Google one on, it's just terrible. It breaks up. It takes ages to start, and it's like they haven't really done much with that to make it. They assume everyone's got a connection like you have in your house and not like I have in my house, and so they think, oh, hang it, everyone's connected, everyone's got a fast connection these days, so just we don't need to bother, we don't need a department to deal with buffering efficiency or anything, just chuck it out there and they get on with it. Guinea pigs again, you see.
Yeah. No, I think the rate at which things are coming out involves a huge amount of lazy programming. If you have a look at gaming, it's unnecessarily large. You buy Call of Duty and you put it into your Xbox or PlayStation, and it's got a 90 gigabyte install, and then whenever you go to boot it up, it's got 180 gigabytes that it then needs to download and update or something like that. And that's just lazy. They're not trimming it down. They're not doing the necessary work to make things a bit more data efficient, as they used to have whenever they had 3.5-inch floppy disks. It's unbelievable that, say, for example, Elite 2 Frontier came on one 3.5-inch disc. It was a 900-odd K game that had this huge universe that you could go into. Now you've got all these big graphics and they're not optimized in any way to be able to get them to you. And I think Google and things like that are doing the same thing. The only optimization that they do we can see plainly, is whenever Netflix takes a 4K video and squishes it down to be able to get more 4K going out on their bandwidth to you, so you can watch it. I'm constantly impressed that Netflix downloads. You'll have a full 1080p film that you've downloaded to your tablet, and it'll maybe only be about 350 megabytes. And I think that is excellently done. But that's the only example I can give of optimization happening these days, because everyone has such fast internet that the programmers don't need to bother anymore, and it's such a high rate of let's get this out. Don't bother about responsible data handling. Just push it out.
And poor Ted.
And poor Ted, yes. People who are operating over limited. It did happen a while ago whenever people did have, what were they called? Caps and things like that, data caps. And Google were making efforts to have Android One and data savers and all that. But that's all being abandoned because there's no more caps right now. It's just, whack as much out as possible. We've got 5G, so we don't need to waste time with optimizing data.
Yeah, it's a constant struggle for us, and the lengths that we have to go to, I have to go to make things happen with in the place I live. It would be so nice to live in the middle of blooming Coventry or something, and to be able to live on cellular data and play games and use Stadia and just not think about it. Whatever anyone wants to tell you, there are still places in the UK, like where I live, where it's just crap still, and it's not the same as everywhere else. And there you have it. End of complaint.
Yeah. Well, I still do maintain that Google, if you have a look at what they were trying to do with Chromebooks when they first came out, they were trying to push networks so that there would always be an online connection available to you, and the reliance of it. But Chromebooks didn't take off at that time because the world wasn't ready for it. And they started having to make a sort of more offline operating system with offline services because we didn't have the infrastructure to be able to support that. And we still don't. 5G is, I saw something saying, was it 3? Said that they're going to have, 59% of the UK will have a 5G coverage. I threw that statistic in there, but it's not 99%. Of the UK will have a 5G coverage, a smaller percentage than that, and it was like, hey, look what we're doing. It's like, hang on a second, how long has 5G been about?
Yeah. What about the other?
And you still don't have that yet?
What about the other 41%? What are you doing about that?
Yeah. Anyway, the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket. Isn't that the phrase? Okay, so what's happening with Chrome this weather?
Chrome OS is going to get an audio settings page, the same as you would expect to see in Windows. The implications for which are that it just brings all those controls together, really. But the knock-on implications for that might be that that we talk about the fact that podcasting, for example, using a Chromebook is difficult. One of the reasons is that you don't have those audio controls necessarily, and the way in which you can record stuff properly. This is going to bring it all together, and it'll have its own audio page in the settings in Chromebooks. They're also going to be bringing a Material U makeover to the Chromebook virtual keyboard for those people that use that, people with 2-in-1s, for example, that remove the keyboard and use the on-screen keyboard, and it looks really, really pretty, I have to say. I think it looks even nicer than the one on Android. They've really thought about that and worked it out nicely. So that's nice, and it's worth having a look at and taking your keyboard off and to see how it works, or just call it up if you've got a stuck on keyboard. You can always get that up and have a look as well. And thirdly, they have Google Docs. Go back to your Google Docs. Makes formatting multiple groups of text a lot easier. So, in other words, if you want to highlight a bunch of text in your one of your Google Docs, and you get your mouse or you tap the screen or whatever you do and highlight it, you can then go down a few lines further and highlight the next bit, and then when you've done that, you can highlight the next bit. So if you want to have multiple sections of text at different points from a document, you can do that. And that's the good news. Well, the good news, I'm not sure, actually, I'll come back to that one, but the difficult news here is that you need 4 fingers to do this. And I'm not quite sure how you do it, because no one's actually seeing this working properly yet. And I'm not sure how you've got to press Shift, Control, Alt, and then cursor key. So you need 4 fingers to make it happen. And then when you highlight these next section of text, I don't get quite then what you do with it. It's not clear about how that's going to work, but it just feels like it's... Do people really need to do that? Do you do that in Windows? I wouldn't know how to do that in Windows, would you?
No, it seems a bit illogical that you're holding down half the keyboard in order to do this, as opposed to just highlighting one, then press it, then highlight another.
See, if I press the Shift key and highlight that, and then go to the next one, it loses the first one. So what is it? Shift instead? No, Shift. Perhaps it's Shift and Control in Windows. There. No, that doesn't work. So I don't see what Google are trying to match Windows doing there. But anyway, it looks like they've done it, even if Windows doesn't do it. And perhaps they're trying to... Anyway, yeah. As you say, mashing down half the keyboard in order to do something of dubious value anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I suppose maybe it's just one of those things that they need to do to make it look like they are progressing docs a wee bit more.
Yeah.
To appease certain people, although a labelling system would be absolutely crack.
And a training system for those that don't know how to use it properly.
Because me and your mum need it. You don't, so the majority need it.
Fair enough. Anyway, yeah, not a huge amount of Chrome OS news. There's a split keyboard doing the rounds. You've seen the split keyboard? With the Android developing for Android 12L, Google have worked out this split keyboard, which is coming to landscape devices, which puts half the keyboard on the left and half on the right. But that's another matter. We'll cover another week.
The Material U virtual keyboard design is lovely.
It is, isn't it? I really like that.
Yeah.
It looks very much like the new Android look, but because it's on a big wide screen, it's so much nicer than the existing one. The existing keyboard just looks clunky and crap and from the Arc, and this looks modern, and it brings Material U.
It also uses a larger amount of space and provides you with an extra row of keys because you've got the numbers in there too.
Yeah, there's a new number key. And if you look across the top, it's got the shortcuts bar for icons and emoji and stuff, the same as an Android keyboard. So yeah, it's all change. It's a good change.
Cool. I look forward to seeing that rolling out. Okay, hark back. What do you have for this week, Mr.
This will be a quick one because it's the Sony MVC CD1000, which came out in about 2000, and we did have one. It was really expensive. I can't remember how much it was. It was really expensive, but it was the first digital camera that you could put a disc into, a CD. And that's the good news. The bad news was that they had to be these cut down versions of CDs, which are smaller than normal CDs, because otherwise the phone would have been massive. The camera would have been massive. So they got these cut down CDs. You stick it in the back. The other bit of the bad news is that it only worked with non-rewritables, so CDRs. And the CDRs, once you'd written to them once, that was it. The good news on that is that Sony knocked them out really cheap, so you could buy tons of them. But then,
that's not like Sony.
No, if you
so the memory sticks thing.
That's right. What a disaster that was. If you look at if you've still got a computer with an optical an optical drive now, you'll see that it's got an indented bit in the middle, and these discs were designed to sit in the middle of the drive there. But back in 2000, they decided to keep the size of this thing down. So the camera, apart from that, looks like a movie camera. Really, it was a bit of a beast. And the highlight of the camera actually was the 400mm lens, which has got a f2.8 aperture across the range, which was really good. Got lots of light in it. We had one of these it wasn't mine, but we had one for a place I worked, and it was great fun to play with. And at the time, it was just fabulous that you could stick this actual CD in there and then put it on take it out the back, put it in your computer, look at your photographs straight away, no problem at all. And then it reminded me of all the things you had to do with these discs. Like you had to finish the disc. Was it called finishing? Yeah, you had to finish the disc and make it available to be read on certain devices, and it was all so ununiversal. Those days of CD rewriters and unwriters, and I mean, this is right up your street, isn't it? Because you got into all this stuff with your love of movies, I suppose, and getting stuff on rewritables and unrewritables and all the rest of it. The one that I remember coming out was the RW. When the CD-RW arrived, suddenly it was like having a cassette tape. You could just keep taping over it, and then suddenly it was just so much better. And I remember going down to Curry's and buying a spindle with about 25 of these discs on it, and they were really expensive compared to the CDRs, but it was just worth it to have all that rewritable space. Good fun. I suppose the article was not so much about the camera, the CD-1000, as about the whole CD thing and how that worked with cut down sizes and rewritables and RWs and CDRs. Good time, and we had good fun with that, and it's a real point of nostalgia, I think.
Yeah, just having a look at the capacity. The camera would record in a VGA resolution, and the CD could be about 150 megabytes?
Yeah.
That seems so small in comparison. I suppose a regular size CD was about 600 megabytes.
720,
or
wasn't it?
if you had no, I think it was the Atari Jaguar ones were about 700, but I think the regular ones were 600, maybe even less actually.
I thought 720 rang a bell, but yeah, you're probably right.
That's resolution, probably. But yeah, just
20 images.
It's
20 images in TIFF mode on your CD. JPEGs, 150 shots for each disc. Yeah.
Wow. I remember the whole idea of you wanted to upgrade your CD drive as well, so that you would have, the optical speed and the rewrite speed and things. So it would, whenever you, say, had an MP3 player or something, you want to write a whole load of songs to a CD or play in your car or something like that. Having a faster drive meant you could actually do it and write an album to put in your car before you went out.
Yeah.
You could maybe leave it for 20 minutes to write the CD and then do the lead out and stuff, and then put it in your car. Or, you'd have to plan ahead and maybe do it for a couple of hours. So it'd be like making a mixed tape, where you'd have to spend a few hours making it. But being able to record video directly to disc, that just asks for so many problems as well. Yeah. Where you maybe bump the camera whilst you're filming or something like that and end up losing the storage.
Oh, yeah. That was one thing with this camera I remember as well. You had to, when it was initially formatting it, for some reason it said don't touch it. you had to put it down and leave it on the table in order to make it so it didn't kind of screw up the process.
Wow. It's an ugly mother as well. It's not the prettiest camera in the world. It's got that big sticky out lens that looks like someone's added something.
It's a great
to it.
lens, though. It was. I remember that being just superb. Like, you know, as I say, 400 mils f2.8 across the whole range of the lens, which was really good. And it's as usual with Sony, covered in buttons and dials and all sorts of stuff. You know, the menu-driven stuff was kind of secondary to some degree. It's not an SLR. It's got an LCD viewfinder. But it has got and a secondary LCD on the back of the door on the back, which at the time was quite big, 2.5. I think it's 2.5 inches, but obviously now that's not so big. They readily went up to 3 inches in that respect. But yeah, it's a beast. It's a bulky thing to handle. And it looks like a video camera. But yeah, the point was really about this whole CD thing. And it went away. I don't remember. I don't know if you do. I don't remember any other, apart from that Kodak thingy, which seemed to do something, any other devices that used a CD in the same way. It always memory sticks, and that was the way forward.
Let's just have a quick look. You can still buy them off eBay and things like that. Well, there's one for £200, which is buy now, best offer type thing. But, 20, 30 quid will get you one. But it does seem to be predominantly United States. Right. I don't see any available in the UK right now. But then I'm not actually logged into eBay.
When they initially released this, it was Japan only, of course, as Sony tend to do. But it did come out to the rest of the world. I couldn't. I was trying to find a release price, and I couldn't find one. And I'll have another look now while we're talking. But it just seemed to be elusive. No, I still can't find it. But my memory tells me it was like about, I don't know, 800 quid or something, which at the time was a lot of money. Let's see if I can still find it. No. Oh, no. You should be. You're good at this stuff. I'll have a look when we do the bargain.
I'm actually curious because of the size of the CD. It uses the 3-inch CD, as opposed to the larger 5-inch or 4-inch or whatever the standard size is. I was just having a quick check to see whether or not Sony made one that recorded directly to minidisc.
Oh, right.
And they did, yeah. The minidisc disc cam.
Oh.
So they did try to push the minidisc format because it's obviously a better version of this 3-inch CD. It's even smaller again, but it's got the plastic housing around it. And then you get, there's minidisc recorder for playback as well that you could take the minidisc out of and stick it in that and hook it up to a screen.
I see that now. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
No, but then I suppose minidisc, whilst it's still around and still a good source, good medium to use for listening to music. I have my minidisc collection over there that I record some of my CDs onto and listen back on my little MIDI system. It would work quite well in a video camera, so they didn't last terribly long because minidiscs sort of stopped selling, unfortunately.
Apparently CDs are coming back.
Oh, yeah, I hear that every year. For the last 20 years, people are going, oh, no, it's coming back. The tape's coming back, too. Yeah. So, Jimmy Hoffa's coming back.
You can buy new audio albums on cassette now. I couldn't believe that. If you go to Amazon, it's with some of them, it's one of the options. Buy a brand new magnetic tape that will stretch and break.
I'll tell you one thing. I bought a game on cassette the other day. Well, not the other day, a couple of months ago. And it was a game that I've recommended heartily in the past, but it's not really a real cassette. It's Dark Side Detective. It's on cassette, and then you open the cassette, and it's got a pull-out USB, come to think of it. But, you can still buy cassette.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. The the Mavica CD1000. I do remember it, just about. I don't remember using it a huge amount because it wasn't mine, but I do remember being able to use it, and at work. Nice machine.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Okay, well, moving into the bargain basement, because time's ticking, and there's people downstairs waiting for me.
Oh, dear.
The Oki over on My Memory, I saw someone on the MeWe group, I think it was Chris Kelly maybe, looking for recommendations of charging blocks or power banks and things like that. But I happened to notice this one, which I had recommended My Memory before because I live in Northern Ireland and can't get them off Amazon due to problems with them being power banks and flying with lithium-ion batteries built inside and nonsense like that.
No, but before you go on, no one can buy an Orki off Amazon now because Orki's one of the brands they banned, wasn't it?
They have, yeah, but they've gone headlong onto My Memory, and you can buy a load of Orki products on there because Orki are genuinely good. They did some bad things on Amazon and maybe resellers and stuff like that got them banned, but they're still make good hardware. And this is a really nice little charging power bank that I've had my eye on for a while, but I have decided that I'm going to go for it because there's a wee bit of money off as well. It usually costs £18.89. It's the Wireless Basics, BASIX, charging power bank. It's 10,000 milliamp hours. It has wireless charging built into it, Qi compatible wireless charging. It's got a wee flip out stand that you can set it up right, and then on the other side there's another flip out stand that you can position your phone on. So if you're, say, sitting on a train, you can use this as like a viewing dock that'll keep your device topped up, and you can watch things on the go. Now they do say that it's not exactly the fastest of wireless charging. It's 10 watt without connecting a cable. Supports 5 watt, 7.5 watt and 10 watt output levels, but it has pass-through charging as well, so yeah, you can use it as a viewing gallery, but using the code HUKDAPB will save £3 off the top of that and drop it down to £15.98p, which is a really good little deal. And if you're looking for a power bank with quick charging and Qi compatible charging, then this could be something that you need.
Very nice indeed.
True. What have you got?
That's yours, isn't it? Oh no, it's not. It's mine. The JBL Reflect Flow Pro, which are no good for me, but people that want things stuffed in their ears, 99 quid it is, down from 129 quid. And apparently, I was looking at the review of these, and apparently they're very well reviewed. One of the big points being the superb battery life. So 10 hours of battery just in the buds, and that's I in my experience that's quite unusual. That some of them are like those kind of figures if you include the power in the case, but not just in the buds, and that's very impressive. So I'm always drawn to that. JBL we like as a brand anyway, and 30 quid off. They look for those, as I say, who want them that design. That's a 30 quid saving, a good bargain.
I love how it's got little wings that sort of position these into your ears, or anchors, if you like, but they call them power fins. Kind of cool. But you also have 5 monthly payments of 20 quid.
You do, but I don't.
Right, Northern Ireland.
What do you do with those power fins? They go over the...
They just help secure them in your ear, so they sit in the cup part of your ear.
Very complicated.
So you can wear them whilst running, and they don't fall out quite so easily.
I got you.
Oh, yes. The 2021 Apple Smartwatch SE. This is a rather attractive blue colour, I have to say, with like a silver faceplate, or they call it the silver aluminium case with abyss blue sport band. Is down from £299 to £219, which is a saving of £80 or 27%, and then it's also available for 5 monthly payments of £43.80p, which is great on an Apple device, smartwatchy type thing. So yeah, that's the SE version, which kind of nice. I believe they're very popular.
I like the strap.
It is. It looks very well with that silver aluminium case.
Very nice. Good saving, as you say. And you've been offered that for monthly as well, and I'm not. The favour switches. Okay, this one is for you. I don't really know much about it, but the Sony PlayStation DualSense Midnight Black wireless controller, down from 60 quid to 47 quid. So if you've got a Sony PlayStation, this might be attractive to you, and you save a few quid. That's the end of my spiel.
Yeah, 47 quid is not bad for these. These are the ones with the PlayStation 5. You can buy it with a £20 PlayStation gift card, and that's £67 instead, which is still 20 quid on the top. So that's a significant saving too. Yeah, okay. No, it's good to see these dropping in price. They are excellent controllers. They also work with other things too. They are a Bluetooth controller, so you can use them with Android. So if you need a really good game controller, then this could be something for you to entertain.
You need one of those stands thingy for the top, though, don't you, for your phone? But that's another story.
Yeah, you can do, or you use it with your PC if you happen to be using your PC too. Yeah, cool. I don't know what I've got next. What do I have next? Oh, it's an SSD, as usual. This is the Crucial P2 2TB internal SSD. I have something similar to this that I bought from Western Digital quite recently. This has dropped in price from £196.79 down to £130, or you can get it for 5 monthly payments of 26 quid, which is a really attractive bargain. If you need I'd say this would be a great secondary NVMe to have on your system. This isn't the one that you want to install Windows on, but if you're moving from a spinning hard drive or just a regular SSD, then this would still be a faster solution, but it's not the fastest solution. If you want to stick your applications and data on this at 2 terabytes, it'll give you a really, really fast experience. I do love these. Having got one of the same speed by Western Digital, I was noting the other day that I hit install from Steam and I managed to max out my broadband, which is the 1 gigabit per second connection, and it downloaded in a couple of seconds, and it was like 6 gigabytes that it downloaded really, really quickly, and it was just the combination of fast broadband and fast SSD.
Lucky you.
Great.
Lucky you.
It does 2,400 megabytes per second, and it's a 3D NAND. So it's an M.2. You have to plug that into your motherboard, unless you've got some sort of other swanky option. Yeah. It would probably work on a PlayStation 5 as well. I wonder if... Yeah, probably does. Good call. Yes, I like that. It'll give you double the price, or double the amount of storage on the PlayStation 5. Yeah.
Excellent.
What's next?
A trio of Pixel 6s. The Pixel 6, 499 quid, 100 quid off at Amazon and other places, I think. Pixel 6 Pro, 128 gigabytes, 699, 150 quid off. And the Pixel 6 Pro, 256 gigabytes, 799, 150 quid off. So there you go. For some reason, the pixels are coming down. It's a bit early to be impacted by the talk of Pixel 7, so I'm not quite sure why they're doing that at the moment. But anyway, there you go. 150 quid and £100 savings for that. And the Pixel 6, I think, the smaller one, at $499, is probably the right price that it should have been. It's just a shame they didn't do a 256 gigabyte version of that, because I might have been tempted back in the day to have one and keep one. But there you go. Pixel 6 reductions.
Yeah, the 2 Pros, I'm getting 12 monthly payments of £58.25p nice. On the 128, and then the 256 is £66.59p.
Brilliant.
The regular Pixel 6, nothing.
No. I think...
So the cheap one, they're not doing that.
I think in order to get the 12 payments, it's got to be over a certain price. I'm not sure what the price is. But they used to do that with, like, the more expensive Sony Xperias. You would see that were on 12, and it was because they'd reached this threshold. The Oppo Find X3 Pro, it was just over 1,000 quid. That was on 12, and I'm not quite sure how they work it out, but at the moment I'm not seeing any of it anyway. Ha!
Yeah, I don't wonder why that is. It's bizarre. And the last one is this popped up just as I was starting the show, actually, and I thought I'd throw it in. It's a SanDisk Ultra Fit 128 gigabyte USB 3.1 flash drive that does 130 megabytes per second read, and it doesn't say what the write speeds are, does it? Write 15 times faster than USB 2, apparently. It's a decent looking little flash drive for £14.89 for 128 gigabytes. That's pretty good. Shove that in the side of your Chromebook and away you go, or your Windows laptop. It's not a very large one or anything, so it sticks out quite nicely from the side of a laptop, so it might be a somewhat permanent storage device if you need that for your laptop. I do recommend these kind of things. I would very much like one of these, and I've got it in my basket, and I might just order it in a couple of minutes, depending on nothing. Actually, I think I'm going to order it.
It'd be nice if nice if it didn't stick out at all, though. If you could stick it in there somehow, and it just stayed in there, and you couldn't see it. Like on the side of some Chromebooks with the micro SD card, it just goes in and stay. That's it. Put it in there and forget about it. With that one, you always know it's just sticking out a bit.
I've been looking for them the low profile memory stick, and this is about the closest that I've got. There's a couple. There's one by HP which sticks out just that little bit, but I think it sticks out a wee bit more than this. Integral has one as well, and it looks quite nice sticking out, but again, I think it sticks out a little bit more than this. This is the lowest profile, but it still does stick out like half a centimetre.
I suppose with USB-A it's a bit difficult, isn't it, because it hasn't got a eject, reject, what's it called, press in, press out thingy. With USB-A it's just as it is, so if it got really, really, really small and flushed to the side, you probably have trouble getting it out at all.
Yes. And generally on laptops, the USB, it's USB-C that has the faster transfer speeds, and you can't have flash drives on those, other than sticking out properly, as you would expect for a big flash drive. So you're kind of limited. I just have a problem with my Chromebook that my micro SD card it sits out that a millimeter. And I keep hitting it, and whenever I do hit it, it messes up the storage on Plex. And it's like, oh, no, can't watch anything on Plex ever again. And you have to remove everything and re-download everything if you want to install it on the SD card. So it's a real pain in the derriere.
Very, very annoying.
True. All right. Well, that about brings us to the end. If you want to get in touch with us, you can by emailing us at gareth@techaddicts.uk. You can also find me on Twitter at Gareth Miles, GarethMyles. I have my .com as well. And Ted, what about you? Where can they find you?
I have my .com, tedsalmon.com. Links in there to all I'm involved in. All the audio podcasts and the MeWe groups, links in there to join up. Do come and talk to us in the MeWe group. We like to have conversation with you. And if you want to buy me a coffee, finally, you can do that, and I'd be very grateful. That's at paypal.me/Ted Salmon. Cheers!
Excellent. All right, well, we'll talk to you all next week, and I hope you have a lovely week. Enjoy the weather, and be nice to each other.
Bye!